I could speak for everyone in saying our thoughts and prayers are with your family. You've overcome so much already. There's no doubt in the world that you could overcome this as well. So my heart to you. The second thing I want to mention is to thank Michelle. Uh, she mentioned I was here the last time, and the last time as a speaker, I had a completely different set of keynotes. It was through the understanding that I gained from her event that allowed me to change my outlook on what I need to be speaking about to speak more to these types of topics. So, Michelle, from me to you, thank you, because that's played a huge role in my ever expanding fight to create change. So, I'm going to tell everybody my story, and I'm going to try to keep it brief, or as brief as I can. I do have tea. This do not disturb is not for you, it's for my kids. So, just being clear on that. This is a story that I first told at Michelle's last conference. It was the first time. And since that point, there's been this ever growing understanding of what's actually happened and how you actually cope with it. And more conversations with other men and with society in general about how this comes into play and how this operates. So my story dates back, and I'm going to give a quick bit of background in order to allow for a more easily digestible understanding of what happened. So I did grow up with ADHD. I also grew up with learning processing disorder, which means that I know what I'm trying to say up here. Doesn't always come out here. Ironic for a speaker, but hey. So I was bullied a lot. I was pushed down a lot. My social awareness, my social intelligence really took a backseat to just fighting to get through school, to get through life. And those with ADHD, specifically men, mature on a social level about 5 to 6 years after women do. So let that set the stage. So first time I'm away from home is in college. During high school, I really didn't date much. I was too focused on other things. But I was desperate to feel wanted. I was desperate to feel needed. I was desperate to feel like somebody accepted me and wanted me around. And then my freshman year happened. I got severely bullied. So the summer of between my freshman year and my sophomore year, I met this girl, and we lived in neighboring towns. We were of the same religion, which doesn't necessarily matter much, but it was commonality that I was really looking for. And she seemed like an interesting person. I got along with her family, so on and so forth. So we start dating, and nothing's weird at first. I didn't think much of it. There were little things that, looking back, were probably ideas that things were headed in the wrong direction. Little ticks, little ways that she would tease me, little things that she would do that I said no to, and she kept on going. But I didn't think it was anything weird. I didn't think it was anything different. And then summer ends, and we go back to school, but she didn't go to the same school as me. She went to school about 90 minutes south of where I was in Jersey. And for a sophomore kid, I was basically my schedule was basically go to class, go to work. By the time I was done with work, I'd have to go back and do more homework. And this was Monday through Friday. On Friday afternoon, I took whatever money I could from working the entire week and drove all the way down. First thing she wanted to do was go out to dinner. Now, mind you, I wasn't making a lot. I'm, a sophomore in college back in early 2000s. So we go down, and basically that dinner costs 3/4 of my paycheck. So now she wants to go out, but I can't afford to go out. So now she starts getting frustrated. Instead of taking the frustration out and having a conversation, She proceeds to take her nails and dig them into my arm as hard as she can, literally grabbing as hard as I can until the point that I bled. She did this over and over and over again, and then she would hit me. I still didn't think anything of it because this was a girl that wanted me around. That, as a 20-year-old was giving me physical affection and physical attention and was looking at me in a different light that I always wanted to be looked in. But then the physical violence turned worse. She would kick me and knee me in my groin and start laughing about it. Then it became sexual violence. She would touch areas and try to do things that I wasn't comfortable with. And after I said no, she still didn't stop. The mental toll was excruciating. She would beat me down and belittle me and bully me in the same way. But because I was so dedicated, so wanting to feel like somebody cared, I overlooked all of what was going on. I'd rather be in a bad relationship than no relationship at all. And the irony about all this is that I never broke up with her. I never had the courage to break up with her. I didn't have the friends at that point telling me, hey, this is a bad situation, you need to stop. I was isolated, and she took advantage of this. So I remember she was in a sorority, and there was a sorority dance, and I paid for it. Paid for her dress, the whole 9 yards. We go to this thing, they rented buses, like all done up. We get back, I get in my car. As I'm driving about half an hour in, she texts me to break up with me. I no longer served her any use. The hard part for me in comprehending this is that I mourned that relationship. At the time, I was distraught because I still thought that there was love there. Looking back, there wasn't any love to begin with. She wanted something. I wanted something. I wanted to feel like I belonged. She wanted a doormat, and I served that purpose. Now, 5 years ago, she reached out to me on, I forget what social platform, and I answered because I believe in giving people a second shot. But very quickly, as we started talking, I realized that she was the same exact person, and I brought it up to her. I said, don't you remember how vicious you were to me? And then she started gaslighting me. So then I blocked her. Haven't talked to her since. Don't ever plan on doing it again. Now, the reason I talk about this, the reason I bring this up, the reason that Michelle's platform is so impactful is because just like when I talk about having an eating disorder and body dysmorphia, there's a lot of things that society doesn't tell you that you're allowed to feel, that you're allowed to be. When I was going through this, I was never made to feel that, hey, men can be the victims of domestic violence. Men can be the victims of sexual assault. Men can feel these things. Men can have body image issues. Men can have eating disorders. And because there was nobody around to tell me, because there was no support system in place, even my parents had no idea. I was isolated, and this created additional trauma because it's bad enough to go through it. It's another thing to go through it and then be like, is anybody out there? And for a long time, there wasn't. And I put this in the back of my mind. I repressed it in the back of my mind. I knew it happened, but I didn't think about it. I didn't bring it up. It wasn't until a friend of mine spoke out about her experience with domestic violence about 6 months ago that I started putting the pieces together, because I was at a point, maturity-wise, where I was ready to work with it. I was ready to come to grips with it. And even speaking here today, this isn't a comfortable conversation, but it's a needed conversation. In order for other people, in order for other men, in order for other women to feel comfortable, talking about these things and normalizing mental health conversations, somebody has to be the first. And I'll close with this. This is not only a conversation I'm going to have to the public. This is a conversation I'm going to have with my twin daughters, who are 4 years old right now. Now, obviously, I'm not going to have this conversation with them right away, but there's a lot of barriers that are replaced by the way that we choose to parent. I'm not the dad that wants my children to think that I'm invincible. I'm not. I don't want my children to think that dad never cries. I do. I don't want my children to feel like they're the only ones in the world going through something, because they're not. And it's this style of parenting that I hope is part of the message that I'm able to send to somebody out there. Because when it comes to making a global difference, it begins and ends in the home. I think I finished with 3 minutes left to go, Michelle. I actually had a timer on, so we are good to go. Thank you, everybody. Bring it. None. Not my job to find out. So I'm going to be the bearer of bad news. My wife is an outlier. She's the exception, not the rule. I did not come to her in my relationship as a full male or full human being. It was her strength and her willingness to see beyond the shell that allowed me to be where I am today. My wife is my hero. And touching back on something that you said, when I mentioned that that it's not my job to find out, here's the thing. If I start looking to see how many people I'm affecting, then I start counting. And that takes away from the entire purpose of trying to build. I'm very well aware that what I'm trying to do, I may never see the fruits of in my lifetime, but that's not the point. The point is, if there's somebody out there that feels more comfortable speaking about these things, then they're able to. And yeah, it doesn't provide immediate gratification, but I'm not looking for immediate gratification. The mission is more important than the sacrifice, and that's what I go by. Absolutely. I can't wait to work with you. I have so much adoration and respect. So thank you for allowing me to be here and giving me an hour to get ready. Yep. Yeah. And last thing, if anybody out there is trying to share their story, I have a very large platform. I'm happy to utilize it in order to spread that message. So just let me know.